from kind of central. We have Anki and Gump. Yeah, thanks for starting the recording, Lee. So we do try to record these so we can post them. We have Aiken Gump, who are DC lobbyists. They're going to be in town on this October 11th and 12th. We're working on scheduling those meetings right now, but we'll be reaching out to individual and research groups to set those meetings here tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get those invites out so everybody can put a hold on their calendar. But again, it'll be the October 11th and 12th. We'll split that between the first day is on Health Sciences campus, and the second day will be on Belknap campus, I believe, is what we're planning. Two other updates. We have submitted our APLU, which is the Association of Public and Land-Grant University, redesignation for Innovation and Economic Prosperity designation yesterday. So we'll hear back about that hopefully soon. It's a important designation for us as a university. So just wanted to give everybody an update on that. And then we have the research strategic plan is going on right now. There's an oversight committee for research, scholarship, and creative activities that's been convened. We've been having regular bi-weekly meetings, and there's a process to engage the leadership of each academic unit in a kind of organized, formal way that's going on right now. We're collecting data to understand our strengths and weaknesses. That's a big part of what you're going to hear about today with Dimensions and this new tool, this research information system tool that Cindy and Michael and the Dimensions team are going to talk about. It's a really, really powerful tool, so I'm excited about sharing it with the community. And we're using that for our research strategic plan. The plan is focused on understanding strengths and identifying opportunities for interdisciplinary collaboration within the university. And so with that, I'll kick off our agenda today. So our team is actually the first presentation group. We're going to focus and talk a little bit about what's going on with the CHIPS and Science Act and our response to that for the NSF Innovation Engines. So I'm going to share my screen, and we've got a great group that's been developing proposals for these big calls. And so I think we're in a really good position to be able to respond. Can you all see my screen here? That look good, Cindy? All right.
Yes.
Great. All right. So I just wanted to start from the beginning. It's always a good place to start. So back in 2021, they passed the U.S. USICA is what they call it, the U.S. Innovation and Competitiveness Act. And so this was a large bill, bipartisan bill, which was focused on helping to stimulate research and innovation, really focused on that innovation piece. How do we translate technology and new inventions out into practice that are invented in our laboratories? And then this combined and became what's called the CHIPS and Science Act now. And this authorized $280 billion to stimulate domestic research and development and also chip manufacturing. So those are two separate things. It's important to understand just because it's called CHIPS and Science Act, it's not all about semiconductor manufacturing. It has a big basic science component with that innovation focus emphasized. And so that's where the NSF Innovation Engines are funded from. In May of this year, the NSF gave their first Innovation Engine awards with what they call Type 1 awards, $43 million worth of Type 1 awards. And UofL is a part of one consortium that received that. These are $1 million awards. They gave 43 $1 million awards to do Type 1 work, which is really to develop a Type 2 proposal, which will be $460 million. UofL is also part of a collaboration. It's called Game Change. I'm going to run through a few slides and give you a little bit of detail on that. But it's a collaboration with the University of Kentucky, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, Vanderbilt, and UT Knoxville, and a bunch of other entities as well. But those are the academic leads. And so the focus of the way we put that proposal together was building on this long history of success that the state of Kentucky has had. And this is really the way we're thinking about all of these NSF Engines proposals. We actually have two of them going on right now. We have the Type 1 that we've received. We're finalists for a Type 2 award as well. And so you'll see, there's a long history of investment through F-score. We all know about this NSF F-score back in 2008. Kentucky is a part of the Type 1 and this helped to build out the the clean room that we have on campus that Dr. Kim's going to talk about here in a little bit. But it really goes all the way through 2023 when, and this is again, not just U of L, but U of L and UK working together on this application through 2023 when UK announced their material science focus. And so this is what we're thinking about when we're putting these together is what are the strengths within the state of Kentucky and in with our regional, partners, whether that be Ohio or Tennessee, and what can we do to be competitive for these large proposals that are coming out. Both of our NSF Innovation Engines are focused on supply chain competitiveness and manufacturing innovation. And part of that is looking at this kind of information and what makes Kentucky unique as a place. These are place-based investments, is the way they frame these. So it's not just about the research and innovation that the universities are doing, but what can we do to stimulate innovation-based economic development within our unique geographic region. And so we have to think about that when we're putting these proposals together. 65% of the US population lives within a day's drive of where we sit right now. We have this logistics infrastructure that we all know and hear about all the time with UPS and FedEx and Worldport. And we have advanced manufacturing expertise, as noted in the previous slide at UK and U of L. Just a little bit more about our region in this slide. We don't need to dig into this too much, but we've all heard about the battery manufacturing that's going on. This just emphasizes that this is really the epicenter of that battery manufacturing in the United States that's happening is right here in Kentucky. You'll see the majority of the battery capacity that's being built up, as illustrated by the dark blue, is in the state of Kentucky or the surrounding regions. So there's a tremendous amount of battery capacity that's going online right now in the state of Kentucky and in Tennessee as well. And then there's materials that go into that, the supply chain for all the manufacturing that happens. Kentucky is a materials manufacturing powerhouse. We have $41.1 billion in total output from manufacturing in 2021. And there are over 5,000 manufacturing facilities in the state and 1,000 materials manufacturing facilities. So those are some big numbers. Just to illustrate that when we're thinking about these, this is the kind of thing that the reviewers really want to see is what unique assets exist within your region, not just from a research and development perspective, but from an industrial perspective. And this is illustrating that. Louisville and Lexington are well positioned, so we've been partnering on a lot of these proposals between U of L and UK. We're well positioned because of our, where we are. We're fortunate to be here. We've been underinvested in, as illustrated by our F-score and idea state status. And so in some ways, that's an advantage for us with these specific calls that are coming out. This is just to illustrate that the state of Kentucky has been making some investments in this area too. They put together this group called Metals Innovation Initiative, MI2, because of all this metals manufacturing that happens in the state. There are over 100 aluminum production facilities in the state of Kentucky, 43 steel and iron production companies, and the metals industry employs about 35,000 people in the state. So we've developed a partnership with this MI2 group to put in both of these proposals. Just a couple of things that are missing. So what weaknesses do we have in the state? Mostly it's around venture capital investment. You'll see the size of investment. This blue dot right here is much smaller. That's the total venture capital deal size that we see in the state of Kentucky. It's little bit over $3 million. And so in 2021, there were 51 startups raised almost $200 million in the state of Kentucky, which is much, much below some of our surrounding regions, which is a necessary ingredient for high-tech, high-growth companies. So we have two shots for a total of $320 million in the works right now for our NSF Innovation Engines. The first one, which we received this Type 1 award that I mentioned at the beginning for the NSF Innovation Engine, is called Game Change. And this is focused on circular economy and energy efficiency. And our U of L's component of this is robotics and automation specifically, and with Dr. Popa leading that effort. This is, again, we received a Type 1 award, which is for $1 million right now, and we're working through this process to develop a really competitive Type 2 application for this Game Change initiative. It's a little bit of detail about Game Change here. So you'll see the map illustrating our 4 academic partners in these major cities that are kind of along this corridor that we live in. But I want to pause here and ask Dr. Popa to talk a little bit about the research on this with robotics and automation. He's the theme leader for our robotics and automation within Game Change. So Dan, do you want to kind of give an overview of what you're thinking with the collaborative robotics portion of this work?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Will. And hi, everybody. So as Will mentioned, Game Change focuses on circular economy, and that includes a lot of different things: supply chain innovation, full product life cycle, energy efficiency, digital integration. A portion of this is collaborative robotics. And for this particular topic, think about robots used for dirty, dull, and dangerous tasks that people don't want to do. It could be, recycling batteries, for example, or working with metal finishing or metal forming in, places where people don't really want to work. Another image you could conjure is robotics for 3D printing. And there's a lot of opportunities that we can make a contribution in this area. We've been recognized as the leading robotics center in the state. And so for Game Change, we will be leading anything related to robotics, and that's great news for UofL. And I just want to also say that if you go back 70 years and see how robotics as a field was born, it was actually born out of this region. And not many people know that the inventor of the first industrial robot is a Louisville native that went to Atherton High School. His name is George DeVol, and he's credited with the first industrial robot. Also in this region, the first robot that was used to handle nuclear materials, see the Oppenheimer movie, that was in Knoxville, Tennessee. So that's where Oak Ridge National Labs is, and they are a partner of Game Change. And the third component is robotics used in conjunction with CNC machining for aircraft parts. The first example is at Cincinnati Millicron. So that's right across from Northern Kentucky. So this area actually is the birthplace of robotics. And I just want to emphasize that because I don't think many people realize that. So I think we can also make a contribution to combine, for example, latest technologies in terms of collaborative interfaces, in terms of AI, and other types of technologies like collaborative robots for working with people in these dull, dirty, and dangerous applications. Another aspect of this for this region is that a lot of manufacturers we see right now cannot find enough workforce for their needs. And so, again, robotics can step in and provide, much needed help on manufacturing lines with advanced materials, for example, and so on.
Yeah.
And another thing, of course, robotics is a great equalizer and creator of opportunities. To get young people involved, get them more excited about manufacturing, because let's face it, manufacturing is not that glamorous, but we can use robotics to increase diversity, solve disparities, involve more people in the manufacturing process. And so that's important for the diversity, equity, and inclusion portion of our proposal.
That's right. Yeah, and also, this is one of the reasons I wanted Scott to be on. So if anybody hasn't met Scott Broughton, Scott leads our Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which is funded by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. We're really happy to have the MEP here, and we've already had some success combining, and MEP is all about serving small and medium-sized manufacturers, helping them be more competitive. we've already had some success connecting small and medium-sized manufacturers with our Robotics Institute. And the idea is we can scale that with the game change. So Scott, I don't know if you want to maybe highlight quickly, an example of one of the robotics projects we're working on with a small medium manufacturer.
Sure, not a problem. And for those of you who have not met myself, I am, as Will mentioned, Scott Broughton, Director of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We have a handful of projects going on where we are combining traditional MAP programming and the University of Louisville traditional labs. As Will mentioned, there's a couple that are through Larry. We have some that have gone through Shoemaker, Canal, Kate, as well as Mahendra. But the one that kind of comes to mind, it's less about the robotics and more about just the combination of those two labs, because that's kind of how Will and I were talking about how best the MAP can support this grant is through outreach. And we have a team that goes out and are actually physically knocking on doors, creating relationships across the state with not just manufacturers, but also all the networks that interact with those manufacturers. So in one case, there's a grant that was through University of Louisville, the APLU grant. We identified a client that was down in Monticello, which is on the Tennessee border. They needed some expertise to help them better understand what are the parts that they had that would lend itself well to 3D printing. We went through and created a metrics for them. We graded their current parts based on their P&L statements. We then brought some of those parts to University of Louisville's labs. We manufactured some of those parts in various different iterations. And the last one being stainless steel that they were able to take to their client and fulfill their need. So again, lots of moving pieces there, but what it really boils down to was our ability, being the MAP's ability to get out and educate other individuals, manufacturers, on the various different resources and grants and expertise at University of Louisville, and connect those two together and manage that relationship. So that's a quick example of how we can bring the MAP into the various different UofL programs. In this case, the grant.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it's just to illustrate kind of the power of the manufacturing extension partnership to connect with the community, which is a big part, especially small and medium-sized manufacturer, which is a big part of what all of these grant initiatives are focused on, is how do we maintain competitiveness within American manufacturing. And the key component of that is the small and medium-sized manufacturers, which feed up to the original equipment manufacturers that we all know, like Ford and Lockheed Martin, and et cetera. So it's just a really critical component of this that I wanted to emphasize. So thanks, Scott. And thank you so much, Dan, and appreciate that quick overview. All right, so the next thing that we had, the type 2, which is really exciting. This is a $160 million proposal that we're finalists for. And we're one of 16 finalists nationally. They're going to make likely 5 awards. And so we had a site visit recently, and really excited about what this could mean for Louisville. The lead on this is actually the Kentucky Science and Technology Corporation, but we are the largest academic partner on this proposal. All of the partners, this is just a graphic, a little illustration of who the partners are, but it's University of Louisville and Ohio State University are the 2 lead institutions. The economic development organization that's leading this is Kentucky Science Technology Corporation, but we're also partnering with America MATE, which is USA Manufacturing Institute out of Ohio, focused on additive manufacturing, and Astro America, which is basically a defense supply chain group that supports advanced manufacturing, with an emphasis on additive manufacturing, but they have some other areas that they're interested in as well. And so you'll see kind of the illustration there that the Boeings of the world, Lockheed Martin, et cetera, are all a part of this through America Makes and Astro America. But again, this is really focused on additive manufacturing. And so I want to pause here and ask Tom Burfield, Dr. Burfield, and Dr. Yang to say a few words about why they're excited about this and what they hope to accomplish with this type of proposal.
Sure. Thanks, Will. Yeah, it was something that we've been working on for quite a while. Definitely, these engine proposals are very large and involve lots of different partners. So, lots of people that we're working with on this. they're asking for a lot of different things, both research innovations and really to establish a regional network, an ecosystem, as they describe it, similar to the vein of like a Silicon Valley for spin-offing new companies, taking new technologies into the marketplace, trying to get it commercialized as fast as possible. So here at U of L, Lee and I have been working with the AMIS Center, it's our Additive Manufacturing Research Center. We do three main things here: our research portfolio, our service, which is just basically jobs for local industry and for supporting research projects, and training. We do a lot of hands-on training, both for our students and regionally for industrial folks. So this whole initiative, it would be obviously a large infusion of funds to help support all these different missions that are all pretty much intertwined with our partners and some of the main forefronts of research in the AM community, which for this proposal centralize on the whole idea of trying to do additive manufacturing at a more rapid scale. So it's a 10-year proposal, 10-year time frame, where we're trying to take some of the current state-of-the-art technologies in additive manufacturing and try to accelerate them into the future, such that they'll penetrate into more industries. Currently, they're really used for aerospace and biomedical applications very heavily, and we're trying to get this more into everyday type of products and manufacturing. So especially a lot of the small and medium-sized manufacturers in the state of Kentucky that build the supply chain for a lot of these larger networks out there. So our angle on research is mostly focused on fast manufacturing, so new lasers and new optics to accelerate the speed to production of AM processes. The other big angle that we have is on materials, developing new materials for extremely high temperature applications, new materials for energy applications, and also looking at the kind of related to the other proposal that Kentucky has led, the sustainable economy around recycling of these materials and reuse of these materials. So I focus a little bit more on the research angle. Lee is our lead on the workforce development part, so I'll let you talk about that.
Thanks, Tom. And so I think one of the biggest thing that we're looking to for doing setting up for this engine is to basically answer the question, how are we going to actually grow an ecosystem? And I think this is one thing that's fairly open for interpretation by NSF and by pretty much everybody. So our approach for stitching the user-inspired research and partnering with company is to create people, enough of a workforce to create the to stitch them up by the people component. So the workforce development part is in a sense kind of like the foundation for the whole engine to support the operation, to provide people and to make sure that all the different component, the outcomes from all the different pillars can flow across to the other components and grow the whole ecosystem. So for this proposal, we have basically, the idea is that we're not going to utilize just the university or community college for education, but we're trying to actually make it a more democratic process. But what we're going to focus on is to create a structure for that. So we have community college that are also partnering with us, and then they're going to handle the K through 12 or K through 12 and associate level, more of a lower tier additive training and education, and universities will be taking up more of a traditional students training. And then we also have other partners who are going to work on the reskilling of the incumbent workforce and reskilling of the new workforce. So to coordinate all the activities, we also need to have a sort of a backbone structure, which we won't handle, but we will. I think UofL is planning to lead this whole effort. So to create something that's similar to a ABAT accreditation system, but not really, that rigorous that or only for the traditional student. So the idea is to allow for the different kind of students to enter the workforce training at different point and exit at any point. So if it were someone from, say, a rural area in Kentucky who happened to be interested in additive and wanted to just learn a little bit and use additive for a project, so we might use different mechanisms to work with them. It could be even through MEP, but then at the end of this, they might become sufficiently interested in additive that they wanted to do some project-based activity, and then that could actually become translated into some kind of informal training. So, but then after that training, they might just exit the system and then go on there and do their own business. So part of the model is to try to figure out how we're going to accommodate this kind of education as well. Um, so Kentucky, on the Kentucky and West Virginia side, we're going to do a whole lot of K through 12 community college outreach because these two regions have a lot of rural areas. And with Ohio, the overall education mapping is a lot more developed and a lot more fragmented. So the idea there is to work with local schools, with local organizations through America Makes, which we're partnering with, and to address more of a in addition to the traditional students, more of non-traditional students, working with companies directly, working with the local organizations to for underrepresented populations and those directions. But this is also why this whole picture makes a lot of sense because we have Ohio is kind of like more developed in terms of both technology, economy, and education, but it's running on its own silo. Whereas we have Kentucky and West Virginia, who has a lot of potential, a ton of potential, and it's also, in terms of what Will just showed, industry mapping, it's also very complementary to Ohio. So I guess that's kind of like
It's
a,
great,
a
Lee.
very high level general
Yeah, no,
idea.
yeah, it's hard. Exactly. I think it's a really large proposal, and I thank both of you all for presenting today and working on it over the all these last months. It's been a ton of extra work, so we hope it pays off. Tom, one of the things I thought was really interesting is kind of Moore's law theory on this, and if you think about every piece of this, like every hour, like speed on the machine equals money. So if you can go faster, it gets much cheaper, just like your microchip, right? It's kind of the theory. So that's why it's going to increase access to additive manufacturing. So, all right, good. And one other piece I want to highlight here is the connection to our existing program. So Jessica runs all of our translational training programs. So Jessica, did you want to say something about how we hope to connect our existing iCore site into kind of these engines and stimulate additional new venture creation?
Sure. And our iCore site is becoming part of the iCore Mid-South Hub, which is across Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Virginia. And one of the things that does is provides entrepreneurial training that we can easily extend to anybody going through this mechanism, including those students that Lee talked about a few minutes ago. So we will be able to provide entrepreneurial training, get an understanding of how to assess a market, and then determine if you have product market fit, and then be able to harness the resources that hopefully we get through this AMFI grant. So I think it's all of the pieces coming together that really strengthen our opportunity here, as well as building more businesses across the state, coming out of both U of L, but also providing our resources to connect. Because of our iCore site, we're well connected across the entire state of Kentucky and surrounding region, and are able to provide that entrepreneurial training to anybody. And so that's one of the things we're most excited about, that is it increases access to entrepreneurial training, business considerations, et cetera.
Yeah, that's great, Jessica. Thank you. All right, good. That's really the summary that I wanted to give. One other, just on the engines, one other piece of this that I'm not going to talk in detail about or provide too much information is there's also, out of the Chips and Science Act, EDA Tech Hub opportunity, and we are part of a couple of EDA Tech Hub proposals, and these are $500 million. These will be 10-year, $500 million awards. And again, we're leveraging these same assets to go for this Tech Hub funding, which is really focused on, creating new innovation-based economic development within American manufacturing. So just wanted to highlight that, yes, we are also working on those and putting, hopefully going to be successful there as well. So with that, I'll stop my portion of the presentation. We've got a really important group here today with Cindy and Michael and Dimension. So Cindy, I'll turn it over to you and talk about the new tool we're spinning up, which is going to be very, very powerful and something we've needed for a long time. So.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. For a while, those of us in research leadership have really wanted to have a tool that would help us to understand comprehensively our research enterprise, to help individual researchers find collaborators. And this presentation that we've just heard is an excellent example of how, when you have the right collaborators, people can come together to make so much sense in a particular proposal, and then really to understand our competition. So after a long procurement process, we picked digital science, and the first product that we are implementing, Michael and I are working on implementing, is called Dimensions. And so Lauren Eider and Patty Smith are here today from Digital Science to give a quick overview of this product, which is now available to members of the UofL research community. So turn it over to our colleagues at Digital Science.
I'll just briefly introduce myself. Thank you so much, Cindy. She's been great to work with. And then I'm going to hand it to Patty, who's the product specialist for Dimensions, and will be serving University of Louisville and training different departments on this tool. This is just a general overview. So we wanted to give kind of a high level picture of what you can do in this tool. Like Cindy mentioned, everybody will have access to do searching in this, no limits really. So if you have specific use cases, feel free to reach out to us directly, or if you prefer to go through Cindy, we can set up a demonstration for you and your research team that focuses on how to use it specifically for your research. So with that, I will hand it over to Patty. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Lauren. Am I sharing my screen now? Okay, good. Sorry, we're a Zoom house over at Digital Science, so apologies if I have any technical hurdles to overcome with Teams. But yeah, this is going to be a really quick high-level overview today. So as Lauren just said, please let us know if you want to dive a little deeper. But I'll give you a quick intro to what Dimensions is, and then hop into the platform and show you around and go through an example use case. I wish I would have used like a mining or robotics use case today, but that's all right. We can always have those separate conversations if people want to talk about that specifically. So Dimensions, it's actually a very young product compared to some peers, some peer products you might be familiar with, or Web of Science and Scopus. So Dimensions is the young one on the block. We were founded in 2018, but I think that's actually a really good thing in this case, because it was founded and created in this kind of new environment where we have so much data available. And so our aim is to really provide you with data from every step of the research process. So Dimensions is actually the largest linked research database, providing you with an unprecedented amount of data in one place. So part of the reason we have so much data is because we do have this inclusive approach to what we include in the platform. So a lot of other platforms take an exclusive approach where they have a set list of journals that they may index, where we don't do that. We try and give you everything that we can find, kind of give you everything but the kitchen sink, because you are the experts and people in the best position to determine kind of what's important to you, your departments, your faculty, your organization. But like I said, our aim is to provide you with data from every step of the research process. And we know that research, like everything we've been hearing about today, research is not just publications, right? And so you need to know about the awarded grants that ended up with those resulting publications. Then maybe down the line, those publications are cited in clinical trial records or in patents or in policy documents. And we're trying to give you all of these different information about all these different moving parts of the research life cycle. So in Dimensions, you have access to publications, of course, but also awarded grants, data sets, clinical trials, patent applications, and policy documents as well. And kind of the cherry on top of all of this is we link all of these different things together whenever possible. So you can really follow the breadcrumbs to discover like kind of how all these things are interconnected. And here's a visualization of our content, these different content types, as we call them in Dimensions, and the different links between all of these different content types. So as of June 2023, these are hard to keep these numbers up to date, but about 1.8 billion links between all these different content types within the Dimensions platform. So from a publication, you can link out to see, the grant information. that, resulted in that publication. You can see how maybe that publication has been cited in some sort of clinical trial record, or how a data set is cited in a publication. So lots of moving parts here that you can explore. We also enrich and organize the data in a lot of ways. So we're giving you mountains and mountains of data, which would be useless if you couldn't easily search it. So lots and lots of different filters that you will see when I hop into the live demo that can help you, navigate down to exactly what you're looking for. So obviously you can search by institution. So you can search for University of Louisville as we do institution identification, but it's not just limited to academic institutions. You can also talk about corporations, like we've been discussing throughout the meeting today. So you can search for Lockheed Martin or Boeing or whatnot and see what their research output and maybe who they're collaborating with. We have some different categorization schemes that we use, different classification systems. So for example, fields of research are one classification system we use. So you could say, all right, University of Louisville, I want to know everything that we've ever published tagged with the tag engineering, and kind of dig into the data in that way. Or we have other classification systems as well, like RCDC codes. So helping you narrow your focus a little bit. We do researcher disambiguation. My name is Patty Smith. It's really hard to figure out, who am I? Am I the Patty Smith at Louisville or the Patty Smith at, Northwestern or whatnot? So we do researcher disambiguation, allowing you to search by researchers by name based on their affiliation. And we do lots of other things as well, as you can see on the slide. But here is a preview of what the Dimensions Analytics web application looks like. We'll obviously hop into this in just a second, but I always like to take a moment to note that Dimensions was created without a specific use case in mind. So it was not created for any one purpose. Rather, we have dozens and dozens of different potential use cases or different ways you can use Dimensions data. So, all the way up from high-level leadership, using it for strategic planning. Research offices use Dimensions for lots and lots of different reasons, from, assessment and benchmarking to recruiting new talent. Libraries use Dimensions for open access trends and collection development. Individual faculty members use it for their research, or to take a look at their kind of citation networks and use it for research impact reporting and kind of beyond. I did want to note that I'm hosting an upcoming webinar series, not specifically for Louisville, but for anyone who wants to attend. But they're very practical, hands-on 30-minute webinars covering the different topics that you see here on the screen. So covering some of those additional use cases that we won't really have time to cover today. So we'll disseminate the slides, I'm sure, after this presentation. So if you do want to sign up for any of those 30-minute webinars, take a look at that. The first one's next Wednesday, and the following ones are over the course of the next 2 months. But yeah, very, very practical. I always like to try and make things actually useful in those 30-minute webinars. But our example today that I'm going to be covering, just to get you oriented with the platform, is this example. So I'm interested in breast cancer research. Who are the key researchers at Louisville and beyond? And what are the funding trends in this field? So hopefully, as I take you through, you'll have some ideas or inspiration for different ways you might want to use the platform. All right, so this is what Dimensions looks like. So to give you a quick tour, so up at the top, we have our, standard search bar where you can just type in, some keywords and get going pretty quickly. But I will note that I actually didn't mention this in the slides. Another unique thing about Dimensions, beyond just being this massive platform with different content types you can explore, is that we do index full text data for over 70% of the publications in Dimensions. So even if you, like your library, doesn't have access to the full text, PDF of a certain document, we have access to it on the back end, so you can explore the full text data for over 70% of publications in Dimensions. So that's what the default option is like if I search in breast cancer, it's going to search for wherever the term breast cancer occurs in the whole body of that paper, not just in the title and abstract. But if you are trying to do a much more focused search, cast a smaller net, you can do a title and abstract search. And if you want to get really fancy, we do have, of course, advanced search options with different operator info here and lots of other ways we could use that. But we're not really going to go into that too much today. So there's your search bar. Beneath your search bar, you have your different content types that you can explore. So default is looking at publications. But for example, if I hop on over to grants, your view will change a little bit. So just keep in mind as you play around, if you're in publications versus grants versus clinical trials, the content below is obviously going to change because data related to grants versus clinical trials is different. So your filters will change, your sorting will change, your analytical views options will change. So just be aware that it's not the same in every single view. But let's go back to publications. So as you do change your searches, obviously your results will change as you can sort it in different ways. Then over on the left-hand side, we have tons of different filters that you can explore. Oftentimes I find myself not even needing to do like keyword searches. I can do a lot with the filters, and there's some pretty cool ones in here. Like you have your standard ones like publication year and things like that, but you can also limit like by location. So I want to limit to only research organizations in the United States or within a specific state even or a region. So you can get pretty specific with what you're looking at. And then we also have analytical views, which if I pop this open, so these results will change depending on your search, and it's kind of acts like a pivot table for any search that you run, except without having to go through the headaches of sometimes headaches of creating a pivot table, and you have lots of different visualizations in here as well. So let's hop into an example. So I'm going to search for research organization. You just start typing it in. Click limit to. All right, so I didn't explain how I did that, but under research organization, there's a little more button, and you can just type in whatever academic institution, company you want to take a look at. All right, so now we're looking at all of the publications, data sets, grants, et cetera, we know are affiliated with Louisville. And then I wanted to specifically look at breast cancer. Not going to do a fancy search here. We're just going to do super simple search. And let's run that more specifically. All right, so who are the researchers at Louisville who are, publishing a lot in this area? So from that publication lens. So if I open up analytical views, you'll see that you have lots of areas within analytical views that you can explore. So I'm gonna hop on down to researchers, and within each one of these sections as well, you'll see there's even more information that you can explore. So definitely don't forget to take a look at all of these other things you can click on. There's drop-down menus where you can change the metrics that you're looking at. So there's a lot you can do in here. And whenever you hop into anywhere in the platform, everything that's light blue is clickable. So that's where that linked piece comes in, where if I want to take a look at Dr. McMaster's research, I can click on the 187 publications, my search will adjust, and I'll be looking specifically through that lens of his research. But then, so I get a nice little list of researchers at Louisville who are participating in breast cancer research. But I will note that this little tick box is important as well. So if I want to show only researchers from Louisville, I can tick that. Now I know that this list is only folks from Louisville. But now I get an idea of who those researchers are through the lens of publication output. But if I want to know, grants, so who's getting funding in this area, let's pop back out to the main section and toggle over to grants. Open up analytical views again. So you can see the list has changed a little bit, but now I go back to researchers, and now I can see, who's receiving these grants. So like, who are the PIs on these grants? It's sorted in descending order by total aggregated funding amount. But again, if I want to learn about those 9 grants, let's click on that and learn more about those grant records. But what are the funders? So this is a researchers receiving the funding, but who are the funders? So let's hop on over to funders. So now we can see a list of, where those grants are coming from. And one thing I always like to do to see, kind of start to assess trends of awarded grants over time is if you hover over any of these funder names, you'll see this little open chart kind of appear. And so if I take a look at this, so it's going to show me the total funder budget in dark blue and then the aggregated funding amount in this specific area. So I always turn off total funder budget because I don't care about the $6 billion total dollars NCI is given away. I just want to look at this specific lens. So if I turn off that little bubble there, so now I can see, so back in 2014, we had about 1.1 million in funding from NCI, but over the last 10 years or so, it's kind of gone on a little bit of a downward trajectory. So what I might want to do is kind of take a step back and see where our peer institutions has their funding from this funder gone down over time? Is it something unique to us, or is it more of a national trend that's happening? So you can start to get insight into those trends. You can also consult this timeline view, which I like. So that's going to give you some of the top funders in this area. Again, you can turn some of these things off to change the view a little bit. Obviously, you want to see something in there. You can take some of the funders out of this list, or you can add additional funders to this chart, so you can get that quick snapshot over time for a few different funders at once. But going back to the aggregated view, So far up until this point, we've been through the lens of Louisville, but of course, if I want to look at funding trends more broadly beyond your own institution, you can just take Louisville out of the equation here. So let me just X Louisville out of the search. Obviously, yeah, breast cancer is very broad. Might want to add some terms to that, but just as an example, so NCI stays at the top of this, but let's take a look at their kind of national trends here. Going to turn off total funder budget. So over time, so actually back in 2014, like their funding has actually gone up, but now it seems to be on a downward trajectory again. So again, that might be something that I might want to take a look at with those funding trends in a specific area, or again, looking at your peers. But again, if you're doing recruitment, we're looking at not Louisville right now. So if I go back to researchers, now we'll get an idea of, who are some of the key players in breast cancer research beyond Louisville. If we're doing recruitment, we can take a look at some of these folks who have, the most funding worldwide. If you wanted to limit to just the United States, you could use our filters over on the left-hand side to narrow that down to a specific country or even state level. But right now we're looking worldwide. Who are the top players here? Again, that's through the lens of grants, but publication output, if you want to view that, let's go back to publications, open that up again, and now I can see the top researchers based on publication output productivity. Okay. Those are a couple things I wanted to show you. Hopefully give some inspiration for different things you can do. One other thing that I wanted to take a look at was how to search by an individual person. So whether this is, for recruitment purposes, or it's looking up yourself or looking up a colleague within this platform, I'm going to show you how to do that, because that's another popular use of dimensions. Over on the left-hand side, we have this researcher filter. So we pop this open. I always like to use someone outside of the institution I'm presenting to, in case the person is in the audience. So we'll use someone from Michigan State. So this is an oncofertility researcher. So, if Louisville wanted to get into open a center for oncofertility research, maybe I'd want to take a look at this person's profile. So when we search for an individual person, kind of one at a time without any other filters applied, we have this nice little view profile button. So I'm going to click into that to show you kind of the power of all the linking between all the different content types. So get a little summary of who they are, their publication output and citations. She also has lots of data sets and grants with lots of funding, 49 patents. I can learn a little bit about the fields of research she is publishing in, the concepts of her research. So I can quickly learn that, yes, she's an oncofertility researcher here, looking to preserve fertility for cancer patients. We do try to pull in information from ORCID when possible. And so this biography and her experience and education experience is coming from ORCID. So it's another reason to push people to get an ORCID profile, make it publicly available, and also to link it to Dimensions. We get some information about her co-authors, her funding, then we get her publications, her grants, her data sets, her patents, and if she had clinical trials, this would all be in this profile as well. And all these things are linked, obviously, so you can follow those breadcrumbs to learn more about all these different moving parts of this particular person's research. Back. And then obviously this person could then look analytical views through the lens of themselves. So one thing that's kind of cool, I've kind of forgot to show this, is I really like these network maps. So let's hop on our researchers. If I go over to network, she's going to be at the center of this co-authorship network, because we're looking at her research. But you can do, whenever you see network, you'll get these really cool network maps. People really tend to like these. And so we can see, she's in the center of this, but who has she, co-authored with throughout her career? Or I could change this to view citation analysis. So who is she citing in her work? So always pay attention to those little network maps. Those are pretty cool to take a look at. And finally, last thing, you can always save and export any search that you create. So if I wanted to save this, I can save it as a favorite and then name it whatever I want. And then you can choose to receive updates about publications, grants, clinical trials as a result of those search. So maybe you want to search for one of those new grants that you've received, create a search for that grant number, save it, and then say like, hey, I want to know about whenever any new publications are associated with that particular grant, and you can create those alerts. But yeah, I know we're running short on time, so I'll stop talking, but I hope to talk to more of you about this topic, because there's a lot more to cover.
Thank you, Patty. We have slowly been scheduling presentations that Patty's providing to specific groups of people and to roll this whole process out systematically so we get the largest numbers of users. So we appreciate your comments in chat to help us identify other groups. Anything, Michael?
Yeah, I put a link into the chat in which I shamelessly promote the College of Arts and Sciences because I put the first landing page on our research office page. So if you click the link, you should only have to log in one time where you're claiming your association with UofL, and then you will be able to just use the single sign-on to directly access Dimensions.
That's great. Well, thank you, Patty and Lauren, and thank you, Will, for the opportunity. It was really great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a great
Thank you all.
presentation, really powerful tool. Excited about getting access to it. It's going to be single sign-on, right, Cindy? I mean, so it'll be easy for everybody to access and everything. So
Yes.
Yeah, you can just click the link in the chat and you're immediately in. So
yeah, it's a great tool. So thank you all for hard work getting that in the door. Excited. All right, so up next we have Sunjin Kim. So Dr. Kim, do you want to give an update on the MNTC, what's going on with the clean room, one of our labs? I know Dr. Abersol was mentioned in the chat that this tool is actually going to be really useful for our core labs to collect publications utilizing the core lab. So I look forward to your update here.
Okay, can you see my presentation now?
Yeah, looks good.
All right, okay. So yeah, thank you for actually inviting me to introduce the MNTC briefly today. I'm Sungjin Kim, the director of the Micro Nanotechnology Center at the University of Louisville, and also professor in electrical and computer engineering. So I think many of you already know what MNTC is. I just want to briefly go over what it is. So it's a core facility under the Speed School of Engineering. And also recently, it's been actually become a Louisville Research Core designated by the Office of Research and Innovation. So I think we're going to have actually more help from actually central administration to maintain our center actually more updated and also well actually operated. And annually, we're supporting over $20 million funded research in our core facility, so which includes NSF, NIH, DOD, DOE, NASA, and other federal agencies. So it's not only just engineering project, we also support many different types of research activities at the University of Louisville, which is actually very important for us. And also we have been actually a catalyst for many startup companies from UofL, and also we're supporting the industry project in the state of Kentucky as well as actually other states. So we have many external users or customers actually do their project in our facility. So our facility is located in Shoemaker Research Building, the first floor. We have a main clean room over there, which is about 10,000 square foot size, and it cost actually $30 million in 2006. I think in current, if we build this facility, maybe it's gonna cost more than $50 million. And also our facility is a key facility of NSF, NNCI, KY multi-scale. I have actually extra slide next here. So I mean, among with other core facilities at the University of Louisville, our MNTC is actually one of the important core facility. And also in 2015, the University of Louisville won NSF National Nanotechnology Coordinated Infrastructure Fund, led by Professor Kevin Walsh. So we've been actually supported from NSF for past 10 years. And then we're only also one of the 16 universities nationwide in this network. So the network actually has Harvard and Stanford, Cornell, Georgia Tech, very actually a good universities. So we're very proud of the part of this network. So our goal of this NSCI program is that we provide the researchers from academia or industry or government and any different areas to access a leading edge fabrication and also characterization tools and instrumentation. So, and also not only just specifically in engineering and science, we also do actually a lot of work with the biomedical or other actually the researchers in a different field. So we're expecting to have another competition in 2025. So hopefully University of Louisville, so MNTC will be actually the next generation of NSCI network in the future. So briefly, we'll go over some functions of our facility here. The MNTC has 3 different types of functions here. One is imaging and characterization, and also packaging there, and computer modeling and cleaning facility. So here in cleanroom, cleanroom is actually actual cleanroom. So we control the airflow with the filters. So we minimize dust particles inside the cleanroom. We have class 100 and class 1000 cleanroom. The reason why we have cleanroom is that because we're dealing with the nano size or micro size structures, and if we have any small particles on there, we're gonna have actually a huge problem in their functionality. So we minimize all the particles inside the room, and also the users, when you enter the clean room, you have to wear the bunny suit, as you see in the pictures over here, to protect the clean environment. So the people can actually generate a lot of particle. So we have actually kind of this protective gear. So cleanup functions are actually most likely construction, but in micro or nano scale. So there is 3 main components of a process, which is actually kind of transferring the design by the photolithography process. And also we can actually accumulate different materials such as metal or dielectric material, polymers, or semiconducting material in nanoscale. So with the deposited the film, we can also remove some part of that deposited film by doing etching process, which is wet or dry etching processes. So we can use chemicals to etch them out, or gas and plasma to remove those different layers. And also we have a high temperature processing, or after we make the chips, so we can actually slice them to make actually a smaller part. So we use dicing process, and also packaging, wire bonding or chip bonding kind of processes. So over 100 tools, we can support really a lot of different fabrication processes in micro and nano scale. With that, we can actually develop many different devices. For example, here for healthcare application, we can make a lab-on-a-chip microfluidics devices, or some implantable devices. Here we have a cochlear implant, also some sensors, embedded lenses here, so we can actually monitor the intraocular pressure using a very tiny devices. And also we can also make different types of implantable devices with sensors over there. And also we can make some space applications like devices here, so pumps or different sensors can be made. And also for defense, we can make an explosive detector. This kind of detector, it's not actually limited to this application, so you can make a different gas or molecule or chemical detectors available to make actually in our cleaning facility. And the second part is that imaging and characterization. So we have a scanning electron microscopy function, and also we manage the transmission electron microscopy, which is located in medical campus. And also we have atomic force microscope or thermal imaging devices. So with that, we can characterize if we have any new materials and structures, as you see here on your left side. So you can actually get nanoscale images using SEM. So we have examples of metamaterials or smart materials or nanofibers over here. And also we have some tools that actually profile 3-dimensional profiling by optical method. So you don't have to actually contact. We can actually make a very nice optical profiling of your any nano or microstructures. About the biological sample imaging here, so we can use SEM, scanning electron microscope, to image cells. For example, here we have red blood cells or cancer cells imaged using our SEM. And also we can use the TEM So it shows actually the synapses in the brain tissue using the TEM machine. Also, we have AFM, so AFM can also scan very small area to look at the biological samples. So here it shows our the website address here, louisville.edu/micronano. If you go there, you can click a link to start actually the process becoming a user. So this is very easy, and we also have a Facebook and Instagram, YouTube channel. If you have, we're actually updating regularly, so we can find some interesting part from this social media. And our facility is basically open user system for internal and external users, but we do also provide some service and also research, collaborative research. So we have 5 engineers with the doctoral degrees. 4 of them actually have PhDs, and also 2 admin support. So we provide services for internal and external users. We strongly encourage our internal users to come inside our facility and actually do their process by themselves, but sometimes they cannot do it. So we can actually provide some services. So you don't have to worry about the IPs about this work. And then there's a very simple paperwork for external users, and they can actually get access, and also we can provide some services for them. And also, we're open to the collaborative project. So MNTC engineers would like to be a part of the research project or proposal. So if you have any idea, but you cannot do it by yourself, you can actually always ask us to make it. Or if you don't have any expertise in your research group, we can be a part of the proposal. So we can actually do some collaborative research project together. And about the MNTC interest, as you know, I mean, Will just mentioned actually in the beginning of this meeting today, Chips and Science Act. So we're actually keep doing the workforce development by doing some outreach programs and also the coursework in EC department. And last week, actually, DoD announced the Microelectronics Commons program, which is a $2 billion for 5 years of funding. MNTC, or UofL, is actually a member of the Midwest Microelectronics Commons, which is called the MMEC Consortium. In this fiscal year, we received $24.3 million. So I think we're going to hear more details next month in October. So we're kind of blackout period. So we're going to actually have more details, actually, how this fund will be distributed. And also UofL is a part of this consortium. We have actually some funding available to enhance our capability in our MNTC. And we're very also interested in biofoundry or bioimaging functions. So Cleanroom can offer a very good research environment for pharmaceutical or biomolecule synthesis or printing or testing. So it's actually part of biofoundry. We're looking for some collaborative work with the researchers in the biomedical area, and also we're kind of expanding our capability, imaging capability. So we actually manage the TEM machine in medical school, and also we're actually under the process to provide access to cryo-EM. So mostly we're gonna prepare the samples over here in University of Louisville and then send it out to the different institutions who has cryo-EM over there. So I think that's a brief overview of MNTC. If you have any questions, please, send an email to me. Here it shows my email address.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that overview. It's great. I mean, MNTC has been a great resource, and really excited to have you on the team with UofL now. So thanks for the presentation, and I'm sure you'll get lots of emails. Keep me posted. I always like hearing about collaborations that come out of these meetings. So thanks everybody for joining us. Ever any questions or anything we can do for you, just let us know, and enjoy the rest of your week. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.